Want to bring in now two former White House insiders. Karl Rove is a Fox News contributor who served as senior advisor and deputy chief of staff to President George W. Bush. And Bill Burton served as deputy White House press secretary under President Obama. Good to see you both. So, Karl, do you see this as a potential issue? You can see it just on paper. How can he be endorsing her at the same time his DOJ and FBI are investigating her criminally?
Yeah, I think it would probably be in the best interest of the country and, frankly, in the best interest of Mrs. Clinton if the president held off his endorsement for now. There's no magic in him endorsing now or endorsing after the Democratic convention. But if he were to endorse now and something were to happen where either the former Secretary of State or some of her closest aides somehow were indicted, or that the FBI more likely recommended that they be indicted and the Maine Justice Department turned it down, believing that it lacked credibility, then people would worry about whether this was all done because the president put his finger on the scale. I thought Judge Napolitano had a great deal of wisdom, and this should have been handled early on. The administration, in my opinion, should have called for an independent counsel. The American public would have had a lot more confidence in how this rolled out, regardless of what it ends up being, if it were done independently as opposed to being done by this Justice Department and the FBI. But it is what it is, and it is where it is. And having said that, I do think the president, for the appearance of propriety, should hold off endorsing her until he actually, till we get to the fall campaign and this issue is resolved and behind us one way or the other.
It could be any time now that we find out what the decision is. It's a special counsel now. I guess technically they got rid of independent counsel, but Bill, let me ask you, because it seems like President Obama is getting ready to endorse. He's going to have his meeting with Bernie Sanders tomorrow, which Sanders requested. They're going to have a man-to-man. They're going to have a chat, and the belief is that he's then going to endorse Hillary.
Look, I think for anyone to aver that the Justice Department and the FBI aren't totally independent of what the White House is doing, it's ludicrous, right? And just for context, I think your viewers should know Judge Napolitano he's a Republican partisan who's making a point on behalf of the Republican side. Okay, fair enough.
But he's not a Hillary Clinton fan.
He's on the right-hand side of the equation.
Yeah.
And not a Hillary Clinton fan. And secondly, if the Justice Department really were trying to help the Clinton campaign, don't you think they would have dealt with this and dispatched with it long before now? Hillary Clinton's been saying that she's wanted to get interviewed since last August. If the Justice Department were really trying to help her politically, they're doing a really bad job at it.
Well,
frankly.
She says that, but then she refused to give an interview even to the state inspector general, who was looking into her email procedures, and did not get the answers that they wanted. In fact, Bret Baier interviewed her today, and she stumbled on this question. Watch.
The State Department IG, though, wanted to talk to you, and you didn't want to do that.
It just didn't even, what they wanted to ask, we'd already talked about in the public arena. And, look, I think that report actually...
You said, Secretary Clinton,
I just want to press on that report actually supported what I have been saying for years. The rules were not clarified.
Well, you said hundreds of people knew about the private email.
The practice was used by other secretaries of state. I've said it was a mistake. I certainly wouldn't do it again.
Bill, do you think she handled that one well?
Well, I think that she's making a factual point. If the Inspector General is asking a series of questions that have already been answered, that's separate and apart from the Justice Department investigation, then, why would she participate with that part of the inquiry?
He is a loyal Democrat, Karl.
I can answer.
He's a loyal man. Go ahead.
I can answer.
Right.
I can answer that question.
I'm sure that Karl could answer this better than I could, because in the Bush administration, the Justice Department investigated many members of the Bush administration, and many of them decided that they didn't want to answer all of those questions.
No, okay.
That's not accurate.
Right here on the show.
No, that's not accurate, Bill. With all due respect, you're talking about the special prosecutor investigation of me and others, and I answered every single question and took every single meeting the FBI wanted me to take. Let me tell you why Hillary Clinton did not want to meet with the Inspector General. First of all, he would ask questions that the FBI would then have access to, and if she answered improperly, that is to say, if she lied to them like she's been lying to the American people, she could be found guilty of perjury. And look, let's be honest, she has misled the American people. This was allowed and permitted. The Inspector General report says it was not permitted. She never asked for it, and she would have been refused if she had. She said nothing classified ever passed through this network. We now know that is absolutely not true. She said, well, there was nothing classified at the time that it passed through the network. We know that's not true. We have been misled about this from top to bottom, and the reason she did not cooperate, and in addition, none of her top aides cooperated with, none of them even returned the written questionnaires to the Inspector General, was because they were afraid of getting thereby charged with perjury when it's found out that they were misleading.
And this is the problem, Bill. This is her biggest problem, is it not? The distrust of Hillary Clinton. They don't trust Trump on the GOP side, according to the exit polls, but they don't trust her far more. They trust him more than they trust her, because her numbers are, I mean, these are Democrats who say like 90% don't think that she rates well on honesty and trustworthiness.
Look, Megyn, I think if you're just listening to this interview, you're just listening to what Carl had to say, you'd think that Hillary Clinton and her aides answered no questions, participated in no attempt to get to the bottom of what happened here. They have answered hours and hours and hours of questions.
She would not sit with her. She was the Secretary of State. She wouldn't speak with the State Department Inspector General. She was the Secretary of State.
She only, her people,
wait, go ahead. That's for Bill. That's for Bill, and then I'll go back to you, Carl.
Just hold on one second. Carl, hold on one second. She has endlessly answered these questions, both publicly and privately. She's asked the FBI to come and interview her. They haven't. And so I think the notion that the Justice Department is somehow tangled up in this political web trying to help Hillary Clinton, it's just silly. Like no independent-minded observer
it's just a question of whether if their boss,
needs to step away from this.
There is a reason.
Hold on. I'm going to give it back to you, Carl. But it's a question of whether when their boss comes out and says, I'd really like Hillary to be president, if you know what I'm saying, whether not James Comey, who's been suggested to be a very independent person, but perhaps our Attorney General says, you know what, I get the message, or she is placed in a very difficult position. Go ahead, Carl, take it away.
Yeah, look, let's be clear. Hillary Clinton and none of her top aides talked voluntarily to the Inspector General at all. The only reason that we're now understanding that her aides are talking to the FBI, which is also in that same room, are representatives of the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia and representatives of the National Security Division of the Department of Justice. The only reason they're sitting down and talking with him now is they're being compelled to. So, you know, there's a reason why they haven't yet talked to Hillary Clinton. They want to talk to everybody who was involved in this before they talk to her, so that they know everything they need to know in order to ask her the questions of why did you do this, who did you think permitted you to do this, and to go into the meticulous detail of the kind of communications that went across that network. That's why she won't talk.
Thank you, Carl. And that does not, to me, sound like a Justice Department trying to help Hillary Clinton.
Question for you, Mr. Burton.
Meticulous detail.
Your former boss may or may not be about to endorse. Are you ready to endorse Hillary?
I am ready to endorse Hillary. Yes, I'm all for her. I think you would be a great candidate for president, Megyn. I think that you should throw your hat in. Republicans, people who are independent-minded, are looking for someone to take on the mantle. Bill Kristol, I hear, is looking for somebody. Just
I got enough headaches, Bill. I got enough headaches. Great to see you both, guys. Thank you.